Traver Boehm, you are officially the only trifecta of awesomeness on the Yes Effect show, backed by popular demand. We had to have you back on because, my God, you have a story to come.
Thank you so much.
And we love you. So thank you
Thank
so
you
much for being here.
It is an absolute pleasure to be back on. Thank you so much.
Your life is, I feel like you're living like 3 or 4 people's lives jam-packed into one human being.
A lot of days, Shelli, I feel the same. Yeah, it's both amazing and exhausting, but I wouldn't trade it for the world.
So I want to catch everybody up on what you're up to now, but I first want to talk about and remind everybody, it's like, I think your first episode was episode 20. And we have a second episode, so we'll post that in the show notes so people can get full Traver, full.
Awesome.
But when we last spoke with you, you had gone through a really hard time in your life, and a divorce and so on. And you were doing what you were calling the Year to Live project. So can you just remind everybody what that was and how you started transitioning to this like life-changing, transformational work that you're doing now?
Beautiful. Yeah, I'd love to. So the Year to Live project was, it is, the name tells it all. I had my marriage fall apart. My business partnership ended. My ex and I had been pregnant. So I had that not happen. And suddenly I was left at a point in my life where I had this immense amount of space. And I had this intuition that also said I needed to go on a journey. I needed to honor the space that had been opened and honor the trauma, and also go back and rewire myself for the next 40 years. So I felt like, oh, wow, I'm at the halfway point of my life. Whoever, the universe, God, Kali, whoever we want to say, came in and ripped the house of cards down. And now it was time to rebuild.
So just for context, can you just remind everybody what your life looked like? Because that epiphany didn't come to you easily. Like, you were in a really, really low spot, and how the whole Year to Live project came to be, and just kind of the state that you were in when that whole thing started.
Sure. I was at rock bottom. 2 months prior to this, or 3 months prior to this, I say it this way, like, I was the guy who had it all. I lived in Santa Barbara, California. I ran a gym. I showed up at work on my own hours. I worked in board shorts and a t-shirt. I was married to an ex-model. I said I had my first kid on the way. I was making good money, had it all. But the asterisk to that and the black cloud above that was, I didn't know it at the time consciously, but I didn't have anything that I wanted. I had no sense of myself. I had no sense of an inner life. I spent my days getting high as a kite, my nights drinking, days where anything I could do to not feel. I was completely disconnected from my life. And so while on the outside it looked amazing, on the inside it was a virtual hell that I didn't even know. I just thought, okay, this is my life now. I'm a health coach and a fitness coach that can't go 6 hours without smoking a joint. It's interesting to me on some level, but man, I can't even put my hand on how big of a disconnection that is.
Did you know at the time how disconnected you were, or did you just think, oh, well, this is kind of life as it is? Like, did you know that you were hurting or missing something in your own life, and that was the reason you were doing it was to numb? Or did you just think, oh, this is the cycle I'm in?
Both. It was like there would be very short moments of clarity and consciousness where I'd say, like, wow, I am completely out of alignment. I am a mess. But then the stress of work, the stress of my, the dysfunction of my marriage, whatever it was, the pain underneath would come back up and sort of swallow me. And so it's a hard thing to say, Shell. Like, I wasn't conscious enough in the moment to know, like, hey, this isn't how I want to live at all. Yet every once in a while I would. Like, I'd go back and read journal entries that would say, like, hey, something's got to change. Like, this is nonsense. This is not how we want to live. And oddly enough, the night before my ex left, I made a journal entry that said, I'm not writing any more goals for this year. This is like a January 1st. It was January 9th. and I hadn't written New Year's goals. And I've had New Year's goals and, athletic goals and business goals since second grade. So January 9th journal entry is no goals this year. Something's not right. Instead of specifically listing, I want to be 10% stronger and make 10% more money and check these boxes, I need to find my voice. I need to re-find my strength, and I need to start living in alignment.
Wow, I just got goosebumps.
Yeah. Close the journal, go to bed, wake up, have breakfast, hear over breakfast, I'm sorry, I don't want to be married to you any longer. I'll be gone in an hour. Boom, cascade of events that goes from there, which is the next day my business partner saying, yeah, we should probably rethink whether we want to keep doing this together or not too, which is 2 days later me calling a buddy and saying, yeah, I don't really like how I'm living, and him saying, you might want to go check out an AA meeting, and me going to that meeting and deciding, okay, I'm done smoking pot. I'm done drinking. I'm done looking at porn. I'm done dissociating from any pain in my life. And even though I'm in the midst of the greatest turmoil of my life, I'm going to make the decision to feel every single ounce of this pain, because it's all a signal. Mm-hmm. It's all like the oil light going off on my car. And for the last 10 years, all I've done is cover that light with a black piece of tape called dissociation.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's where I was. And so 2 or 3 months later, let's call it 6 months later, I made the decision that, my business partner and I had settled on me selling my half of the business to him. My ex had finally made the decision that she had been wishy-washy and now said, like, no, I clearly want a divorce. And so I had all this space and I had all this time, and I needed to do something with it, as opposed to the advice I was getting was start another gym, 2 miles away, pick someone in your gym to marry and remarry, and just restart the cycle, having learned nothing, done nothing, changed nothing, and hope that this time around everything will be different. And the light in my head was like, do not fucking do that. We will be back here in 4 years or less, dealing with the same issues and the same concerns. Yep, with a new person and a new, etc. So I decided to live the entire year as if it were my last year to be alive, and let that decision give me permission to, one, go back all the way to the beginning of my life, my family of origin history, my own traumas, and heal them, talk to ex-girlfriends, talk to ex-partners, talk to my family, and then also find whatever skills, experiences, education, whatever you want to call it, to up-level myself so that the next 40 years would be radically different than the last 40. And the inspiration came was when I read a book called The Year to Live and heard about people doing this kind of work in their last year. I thought, wait, why is it okay to apologize to an ex, to tell someone I love you, to finally want to go back to school or play the guitar, whatever it is, when you're 85 and have cancer? Mm-hmm. When 86 is going to be the end, why not do it at 40 and at the midpoint, so to reap the benefits for the next 40 years? So that's why I did it.
Is some powerful stuff, because what did you learn as a result of, because I can only imagine some of the stuff. I know some of the stuff you did, we talked about in the other episodes where you did the dark experiment and you were in the wilderness for a month and you worked in palliative care. But I can only imagine for myself that some of the toughest things that you talked about doing is having those difficult conversations that nobody ever has because they're so painful. Yeah. How did that transform you, and how is your life different now as a result of, because you are just a cornucopia of, you're like your own life experiments. But what I've noticed about you as, like, you're one of my favorite people. I don't think that's a secret. But you are the perfect combination of brave and vulnerable. And you're not afraid to let people see all of you. And that is a rare gift. So how is your life different knowing now that you have, technically the best years of your life to come, and you're living them in a completely different way?
It's like, there's a before and after. There's a clear delineation of experience, of the present moment, of how I wake up, how I go to sleep, everything changed. Literally everything changed from that year onward. And I look at, last year back and last year forward. And it's the quality of, and I don't know how else to say this, but literally every single moment, every experience is different. All the lens through which I experience life is now completely and utterly different, and all for the better. Are there still hard days? Of course, there's still humanity. But has the entire chapter been shifted from, I feel like I lived in elementary school up until 40. And now I'm living at a PhD level of happiness, joy, presence, experience, whatever we want to call it. And I know that there's a saying that jiu-jitsu black belts say, that it's not until they get their black belt that they realize they don't know shit, right? when they can beat 99.9% of the humans on the planet, they go, wow, now the learning starts. And so that's really how I feel like I am. And every day is exciting. Every day I just wake up, I'm obnoxious. Like, I cannot wait to see what happens today, and look out at the rest of the world and go, oh man, people don't get this. Mm-hmm. People just think I'm on crack, or people mm-hmm. think I'm on drugs, or I'm crazy. But I look at them and go, oh my God, you need to wake up. There's so much more to than to what you're chasing and chasing after.
Oh, it's kind of like they're the yellow belt. They don't know what they don't know. Exactly. Well, we met in Santa Barbara at the TEDx.
Yeah.
And you crushed your talk. I think your talk might be my favorite TEDx talk of all time.
Thank you so much.
We'll put the link to that in the show notes as well, just because it was beautiful. That was absolute Martin Luther King shit right there. That was
Thank you so much.
But I love that you talk so vulnerably about pain. And one of the things you said is, pain is the greatest teacher that none of us want to learn from.
Yeah. That was the core idea of my talk. And what I learned last year from traveling and from writing my whole story publicly was how many people responded to it about just being open about pain and about being in pain, and how universal pain is, yet especially as an American, how much emphasis we place on not feeling pain and numbing pain and dissociating from pain. Again, if we go back to the oil light example, it's like, hey, all I have to do is cover that light in my truck and everything's fine. I just keep driving and the light's out, the light's out, the light's out. As opposed to saying, wow, what does this pain want to teach me? Mm-hmm. I've asked clients, finish this sentence. If my pain could talk to me today, it would want me to know ... Oh,
I just got chills.
Yeah, and it's the answers. The room gets quiet. Like, I just got chills too. It's such a powerful message source that we, especially, I'll speak just as Americans, are just cut off from. It's like, have pain, take this. Have pain, do this. Have pain, no. Don't listen to it. It's literally like an elder or a wise person in our ear, and we go, yeah. That, if I listen to you, I have to make change.
Yeah.
And change is scary, and change requires change, and I don't like that. I would rather have a different outcome by doing nothing. Taking a pill.
Pop a pill, yeah. Put my fingers in my ears and say la la.
Yeah.
Well, you talk about pain the same way I talk about fear, and I say, oftentimes you're not afraid of the thing you think you're afraid of. You're afraid of what fear is asking you to look at that you don't want to see.
100%. Same with pain.
But do you find when you're asking people that pivotal question, that when they get real quiet for 5 seconds, they know the answer?
Of course. Mm-hmm. Almost unequivocally. It's not that they don't know the answer. It's they're not willing to accept what the answer is telling them. And it inevitably is something has to change. And that something that has to change has a massive amount of fear around it. Because people are okay with it's the devil we know, right? I'm familiar with the pain I have. And so I've learned to manage my life with it as present. I've learned to numb it. I've learned to keep it at bay. But what's scarier than shit, rather than getting rid of it, is what the possibility could be without it, be it positive or negative.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I hear a lot of people recently talking about also the fear of success.
Oh yeah, of course.
And so, like, say you're given this amazing opportunity, or the most amazing woman in the bar walks up to this guy and she's everything he's ever wanted, or you land this big opportunity in your business, and people are saying, I'm willing to throw more money at you than you know what to do with.
Right.
And instantly people will go into that fear mindset where they self-sabotage because they don't feel like they're worthy or big enough or good enough. So instead of stepping into that, they shy away from that and find reasons to make that not okay or not work or not possible for themselves.
100%. And I'll be honest, I experienced the same thing. Right before launching Man Uncivilized, I spoke with a guy who is an extraordinary mentor to me. So a man who I hold up on a pedestal. And we had a 90-minute talk about what I wanted to do with masculinity in men. And at the end of it, he got real quiet and said, do you have any idea? I just got chills again, damn it. Do you have any idea the impact you can have on the world if you're willing to play full out in this? Do you have any idea?
Absolutely.
And I said, yes, I do. And I hung up the phone. And for the next 48 hours, I hid in my bedroom. I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for this. Yeah. I don't know if I'm ready to take on the responsibility or to have any little crack in my armor be exposed to the world. Because the bigger you get, the more lights and eyes are on you. And if there's anything out of alignment, and of course, I'm human, I have a closet that like, oh shit, people are going to know that I'm human. People are going to, what? And I had to deal with all of that before finally saying, fuck it. You know what? Game on. This is why I'm here. Let's do it.
Well, the beautiful thing about you, and I've said this, I think every time we've ever spoken, I so love and admire you for your ability to be completely open because you get all Traver all the time.
Thank you.
No holds barred, period. Not a comma, end of the story. And so I want to talk about Man Uncivilized, but I just want to be able to take everybody through the trajectory of how that happened.
Sure.
From depressed and falling apart on the couch to the Year to Live project, but you and I were talking about a buddy of yours and I told you about the letters. Can you share that story and what happened then?
Sure. So I made the Year to Live project public. I wrote about it the entire time. I blogged about it. And it was, just like you said, if I had a terrible, awful day, I wrote about it. If I had an amazing day, I wrote about it. And this is, as you said, dealing with people in hospice while getting letters from a divorce attorney. It was just, there were days where I go, holy shit, this is hell. And by making it public, people started contacting me. And I would get the errant email of, hey, my brother's wife just left. What should he do? You seem to be doing okay. Or my spouse just left. What do I do? And so I would send him an email. Like, hey, first of all, you're going to be okay. Here's the pathway to follow this. Here's kind of a step-by-step process. And I had maybe 10 emails that I would send out to people. I'd get them on the phone and, we'd just chat. And at the end of the Year to Live project, I was living in Southampton and was kind of lost again because I just had this massive, massive year and there was a come down off of that. And I didn't have my teeth into anything yet. I was writing a little bit of the book of the Year to Live project, but it was so fresh and so new that I think I needed to process it a bit more. So I felt sorry for myself and watched Netflix for about a week. And
well, because obviously that's what you do.
It's what you do. It's, therapy. And my buddy called and said, hey, you're not doing anything right now. I can tell every time we talk, you're kind of mopey and, shitty. So I have a challenge for you. Write 90 emails or 90 individual letters to the you that woke up that morning, had breakfast, and heard your wife say she's leaving. From that day to where you are now. Compile it, to take the best of what you learned, the phone conversations, the therapy, the men's groups, the seminars, the time in the dark. Like, take all of the last year and a half, 2 years, and put it together specifically for someone who's heartbroken. Can you do that? And literally, Shelli, I sat up on the couch and my head perked up and I was like, I think I can do that. And for the next 3 months, if you wanted to find me, you found me in front of a computer, just hammer typing. Just, boom, 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 boom. I was up at 5 a.m. I was in the gym. I was back in front of my computer. I went to Hawaii for a men's group. And at the end, stayed for an extra 3 weeks. And people would ask, like, oh, did you see Diamond Head? Did you go surfing? Blah, blah. I was like, no. I was in a condominium in front of my laptop. It was just that much focus, 4 hours of typing, half an hour for lunch, 4 hours of typing till I was dizzy. And literally I would stop when the screen of my laptop would start to get blurry. And be like, okay, go for a run. And I knocked out a book from it. And it's,
and I want to talk about that book because
Sure.
So your book is called Today I Rise.
Yeah.
But I want to tell you and everybody who's listening, like with 100% sincerity, there's so many people that I have on that are authors and they're all amazing. But you literally, I have 3 favorite authors.
Oh, thank you.
So you're up there with Daniel and Lamont. Like you.
Oh, thank you so much. That's great company.
So gifted at
Thank
writing,
you.
but also
thank you.
painting a picture. I don't have enough good things to say about it because your writing makes you feel like you're in it.
Yeah.
And your writing also makes you feel like you're feeling it as well. And you have this amazing gift for observation and sharing. And some of the things you talk about are hilarious. And but I want to talk about your book. So
Sure.
So get us started.
It's exactly as I said. It's from day one. And I just, I look back on my divorce and that experience and feel so fortunate in hindsight that it happened to me, despite being, if you ask me, like, what is the worst thing that you had to live through or the hardest thing you had to live through? I would say that experience. Yet the duality of it is I can look back on it and say, that was the greatest growth catalyst. That was the kickoff for every aspect of positivity I have now. So I can't look in the mirror and say, oh my God, today is so fucking awesome, and not look back and go, well, it's only awesome because this thing happened. And that's the opportunity I think lies in all heartbreak. That there's some, I'm going to butcher this Emerson quote, but it's something around the idea that when a man's been beaten down and broken, that's when he's ready to learn. And so anybody who wakes up and takes that first breath where the air then gets knocked out of their lungs and says, I don't know how I'm even going to take another breath. They're that heartbroken. If this book can inspire them just to think 1%, holy shit, I have a massive opportunity on my hands. As opposed to, holy shit, let me self-destruct and ruin my life. Let me go down a path of addiction or numbing or whatever it is, or self-destruction. Let me use this as a self-empowerment tool. Let me use this pain to my own advantage. And that, Shelli, that changes everything.
Absolutely.
It changes everything.
Here's also the beauty of your book. You may or may not realize this because it's hard to see the label from inside the bottle, but you are like the Yoda of whole healing. You are, and you're the Yoda. I'm
stealing that quote.
Please, take it.
Thank you.
Because you're the knowledgeable and wise guide who's taking people on a journey from y'all are fucked right now, but everything's gonna be okay, and we're gonna get across the finish line, and I'm gonna do it with you. But you went first, and you were brave enough to do it right. And when I say that, there is no stone that you didn't turn over and look at your pain and analyze yourself. And some of that shit is hard to look at, man.
It's brutal.
And so I think the gift that people get in this book, Today I Rise, is it's not just an instruction manual.
No.
It's hand-holding by somebody who has done all of the work and knows intimately which parts of the work need to be done and which parts need to be looked at. And, you couldn't be a better mentor and a better partner for somebody who's going through that, because you're one part roots and one part wings, like one part practical, tactical, no bullshit, get shit done. We got to sort it out. But you also have a really soft side that it's like, you know what, guys, I get it. Like, this is really, really tough.
It's awful. It's the worst. Thank you. It is the only way to go through it, I think. I talked about when this book is also a reaction to when I found out I was getting divorced. I couldn't find any good guides. I joke about the fact that I found articles that said, take baths. And I was literally like, are you fucking insane? You think this pain is going to go away with warm water and bubbles? Like, go fuck yourself. How dare you tell me that? How dare you dishonor what I'm going through by saying this is solvable with baths? but I couldn't find the mix of, excuse me, of grit and heart together. And it definitely needed both. And that's what I wanted to compile. Like you said, I wanted to give straight up information, such as don't drink. That's the worst thing you're going to do through this. I know it's the one thing you're going to want to do. Don't do that. Get off social media. I can't tell you how many people are like, oh, I was on my ex's Facebook page today and now I'm suicidally depressed. Like, why the hell were you on that Facebook page? Don't do that. All the way to some of the most awful things, that exercises that I had to do or I put myself through, such as writing the day she left, that entire experience from her perspective.
Oh.
Yeah. And I just cried through the entire thing thinking, oh my God, I just got chills again. This is the Chills podcast.
It always is.
And having to sit in her shoes and go, oh wow, there's actually another human being in this scenario that's not me. And so while I'm 100% focused on she did this to me and fuck her and I can't believe this and I'm the victim and how could she, I was like, oh my Lord, there's an entire other perspective.
What did she say?
It was all about how awful her life was and how trapped she felt and how scared she was and how she was giving her, and I don't know, I'm just making this up, but how she had to give herself pep talks to do it because she believed it was the best thing for her. And that hit me like I sat in an auditorium doing this with a group of people and just bawled to think, man, it took the sting out of, it took the hatred I had for her out because it humanized her. All of a sudden she went from being Satan herself to someone that has hopes, dreams, fears, a family of origin history, pain, her own heartbreak, all the ways I'd let her down. Like it made it real, and it took the focus off me for long enough for me to go, okay, take a deep breath. While you feel your pain, she feels the same, just different. Yeah. And I think it's super important. That, and also writing letters where I, massacre her and her entire family.
Yep.
Because I needed to get that out of my being. I needed to clear the anger, screaming and punching into pillows, stuff like that.
So can you talk about some of the chapters? Because one of the things that we've spoken about is how beautifully your chapters flow in terms of the psychology of where a person is at each stage of the journey. So chapter 1 is called what?
Chapter 1 is called...
So simple, but it's brilliant.
Thank you. It's You're Gonna Be Okay. And that's it. It was Shelli, I polled a lot of people who had gotten divorced. And I said, what was the one thing you wish you heard that you didn't, or that you wish you heard more that you only heard once or twice? And this was both divorced people and heartbreak, but more divorce because it's a longer process and it's a messier process. And unequivocally, the answer was, I wish people had just said, you're going to be okay, and left it at that. Not, you fuck him or then added on their own spin. It's just, you're going to be okay. Hold that frame. On the worst of days, say, you're going to be okay. Repeat that mantra. You're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. And that in itself, I have people write to me and say, God, you're the first person that said that to me in my life. And you said it through a book. So I wanted that to be number one. And I had a guy in my life. I still had one of my good friends, Tom Bolt, an acupuncturist in LA, would call me at all hours of the day, or let me call him at all hours of the night, and just repeat that.
You're going to be okay. You're
going to be okay. And I'd call him back 3 hours later and be like, dude, I'm not okay. My head's spinning. I'm vomiting again. He's like, you're going to be okay. Just know that. Say it to me. I'm like, all right, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. All right. I'm okay right now. And then 3 hours later, 2 a.m, Tom, I'm not okay, blah, blah, blah. And he'd be like, say it. You're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. And so I think I made it first because it was most important, but then I followed it up. Chapter 2 is called, It's Okay If You're Not Okay, right? Like, let's just be real. Yeah. You're not okay. One of the beautiful things Tom would tell me is, you're not going to be okay for a long time, but you're going to be okay. So embrace the fact that you're not okay right now, and this thing happened to you, or it's a thing. right? Shelli, I think people miss this. I often describe it as like, it's now the biggest box in the room. Yesterday, this box didn't exist. Now it's here. Holy shit, there's a massive box of pain in the middle of my room. I can either pretend it's not there and trip on it. I can drink and pretend, say it's not there, or I can open the box up and I can start pulling stuff out of it and clear it. But just having to admit literally your own humanity and say, it's okay to not be okay. Mm-hmm. You know, I had a lot of people say, go to cancer wards, see people who are really suffering. Talk to someone who's lost a child. That's real pain. I get, God, go fuck yourself. This is, to me, this is my 100%. I've never experienced anything as bad as this in my life. Please stop devaluing it by telling me there's other people who are hurting more. I get it. There are other people that are hurting more. Right now, in my little world, on the inside, this is hell to me. I would do anything short of heroin or murder to make this pain go away. And I'm thinking about those two. That's how bad it is. So just let me have that and be okay with it. Right? That was chapter 2. Chapter 3 is something that I created for myself. It's called the island theory, that I then passed out to a lot of people, and they go, wow, that really helped, which is a framework for this.
And literally, it's brilliant because you described it to me in a previous conversation.
Yeah.
and the visual of that is brilliant, and it also simplifies, and it also allows your level 10 of anxiety of I'm not okay to have a visual framework. And it's right. And it's quite simple. I'd love it if you would like speak to that.
Yeah, you know, Heartbreak itself is this gigantic opening. It's got an end. I'm sorry, it's got a beginning and no end. Right? Or we can't, when it happens to you, like, oh my God, this is the rest of my life. I'm now going to be like this for eternity. Where with the island theory, I said, here's the deal. There's, first of all, you lived on an island. You had your marriage there, your relationship there, your partnership there, whatever it is. You had a house, you had a dog, you had kids, you had a job, blah, blah, blah. One day, whether you're the one who left or your partner's the one who left or you decided together, one day you woke up about 15 feet out in the surf. Boom, holy shit. Some of us just got thrown out of a boat one morning. And like, holy crap, yesterday I lived on solid land. Now I'm bobbing up and down in the ocean. And I'm getting crushed by waves, and there's like birds are shitting on my head, and there's sharks, and this is literal hell. How did I get here? And I don't want to be here. But here's the juice. You can't swim back to the old island. Everybody wants to. That's if you could,
because it's right there.
It's right there. If they would just pick up the phone and say, I want to get back together. If they would just see things from your perspective, boom, all that pain could be gone in a nanosecond, which makes it even more awful. When in essence, all you can really do is start to swim forward. And you don't even think there's another island out there because you can't see it. It's miles away. But literally all you can do is put your head down and start swimming towards it, which is doing the work, which is looking at your role in the relationship ending. It's looking at your insecurities, your fears, your management of the present moment, right? How are you dealing with all of this? Because it's so telling. And so you swim 25 feet forward, boom, you get washed 15 feet back. If you check their Facebook page, you get washed 30 feet back. So it's a matter of putting these steps into place that just makes you swim and swim and swim. Along the way, someone comes with a boat. They may take you out to lunch. You get in the boat. They may help you and give you some guidance. They throw you back out of the boat. You're back in the ocean. I'll post this. I'm going to send you a link on my own website just for this podcast of a photo I have on my wall of an island, waves, and a little stick figure in the middle. And yes, you're actually going to get an insight into my artistic brilliance. But that image was so helpful to me that somewhere along the line, you get halfway. And at the halfway point, you can't see the old island. You can't see the new island. And it is the darkness. It is the dark night of the soul. It is rock bottom. And that's when you just have to say, if I were between two islands, all I could do is keep moving forward. Keep going out of my house. Keep staying in the light. Keep finding people that inspire me. Keep reading great books. Keep fueling myself with positivity, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then one day, you get a glimpse of this island. You get a glimpse of something through the fog. Holy shit, that looks like land. That's the first day you go 4 hours without thinking about your ex. Boom. Then what happens? They text you and you get washed back 20 feet. But you've seen it. So you know it exists. And that's when things start to change. You're like, I was okay yesterday for an hour. I can be okay again tomorrow for an hour. And so you swim a little harder and you swim a little harder. And if you're willing to keep doing the work along the way, the guides, the exercises in the book, here's the beauty, here's the thing that no one wants to accept on that first day when they got thrown out in the surf. The you that crawls up on that new island can be so radically different than the you that got kicked off the first island, you won't even recognize yourself. Mm-hmm. Boom. You have different skills, you have different understandings, you have different experience in the world, your experience of the presence is, everything can be different. And you can start a brand new life on a brand new island, and you have the ability to build that island however you want. And that framework helped me. Like, I would literally wake up and be like, okay, what are we doing today for island building? Boom, I'll send that to clients. Hey, how are you building your new island today? Oh, I'm taking a Spanish class. I'm taking a cooking class. I started meditating. I'm going back to the gym today. Okay, beautiful. Good for you. That's the new island.
Awesome.
Yeah, well, really helpful.
Like, your life is ridiculous, man. Like, a month in the dark, a month in the wilderness, working in palliative care, writing this book. Mm-hmm. So all of that, like this treasure box of experience that you've distilled down, mm-hmm. is unfathomably beneficial to other people. And so I know that you're transitioning that into what you've called Man Uncivilized. And I'm wondering, if, first of all, if you can tell me how you came up with the name.
Sure.
And also what you're doing with all of this knowledge and skills and influence and how that can benefit other people.
Sure. So the name came about, I'm living right now with Adam Cobb, who spoke on TED with us as well, or TEDx Santa Barbara last year as well. He's my current roommate. And one morning about 4 months ago, Adam came out and asked me, hey, when was the last time you ate McDonald's? I was like, brother, I don't eat fucking McDonald's. That's civilian food. And he stopped and said, what do you mean it's civilian food? I was like, you could put a gun to my head. I will not eat McDonald's. I don't live that way. I'm not a civilian. And I didn't mean it in the military term. I meant it in, I look around at the world, at how the vast majority of humans are existing, and I don't play that game. I told Adam, like, you're not a civilian either. You're up at 5 a.m. in the gym with me. We're eating vegetables. We think differently. We act differently. We live differently. And so I then took this idea when I said people were contacting me last year about divorce. I started getting more and more men contacting me, which was interesting because I had more of a female following from the Year to Live project. And so I started finding themes with these men, that where were they, what were the groupings of their pain points? Where were the groupings of their, for lack of a better term, failings? What was a civilized man? And a civilized man, in my opinion, was trapped. He felt trapped. He felt alone. He was addicted on some level to something. He was lost. He was apologetic about being a man. He had no presence. He wasn't present in his own life. That was massive. He had no relationship to his own power. He hadn't understood, because I hadn't either years ago, or come to the understanding that masculinity was actually a pathway. It was no different than Christianity, except for the religious aspect. Like, oh, wow, I wasn't just born with a dick and a proclivity for watching football. I was born with a set of action idea, a set of, I'm missing the word, of ways of living that work well with my being, of natural energetic expressions. That's it. I am, as a man, because I have masculinity, my innate desire is to protect, to lead, to provide, period. To be present, to be grounded, to go out into the world and be adventurous, to deal with fear, to deal with action, to go to penetrate the world, to build. That's in my DNA simply because I have masculine energy. So if I use that and I lean into that, my life suddenly falls into place in ways that it never would otherwise. It's like I actually start going towards my nature as opposed to going away from my nature. I was like, oh, wow. So I'd start talking with these guys and say, how grounded are you? Like, what are you talking about? Well, how are you reactive? Like when you're in the face of drama, conflict, your woman, are you reactive, or are you the center of calm and peace? Doesn't mean you don't get upset or you don't have emotion, but are you calm? They're like, no, she said this and then I said that. Like, no, brother. Can you ground yourself? What do you mean? Can you lower your energy and become the mountain? Can you become the mountain around which the storm brews without getting pulled into the storm? And these guys are like, wow, I never thought about that. Like, here's the deal. You got to meditate 4 times a week for 10 minutes. If you don't know how, I have a course on it. You got to do this. You got to go to the gym. You got to be strong. Strength is an aspect of masculinity. Period. But I work in IT. I don't need to be strong. You need to be strong because you're a man. Period. You got to go to the gym. I don't go to the gym. And then putting pieces like this into place, you have to have integrity. Your words, your actions, and your thoughts have to line up. If they don't, 1, you're leaking energy. 2, you're out of alignment, and your life's going to get really complicated. I was like, holy shit. You have to become fluent in your emotions. What the fuck are you talking about? Let me guess. You probably speak anger fluently. That's it. So you have no sense of fear, frustration, joy, sadness, whatever it may be. When you express everything through bottled up anger, don't you? How did you know? Well, I used to too. So let's talk about openly, you and I, man to man, what makes you sad? When was the last time you cried? I don't know, I don't fucking cry. Well, gee, do you pee? Yeah, of course I pee. Well, then you need to cry, right? These are natural human things that we've just decided that one gender doesn't get to do, but yet you feel the emotion. So it was steps like this. Where are you leading? Are you making decisions in your life, or are you letting decisions get made for you? Are you making decisions in your relationship? Are you making decisions for the betterment of are you a leader in your family? Do you identify as a leader in your family? Can you hold space? And most men haven't even heard that concept. Can you hold space? Can you breathe through someone in front of you going through their entire emotional experience without you getting pulled into that emotional experience as well? Because if you can do that, you just earned yourself a black belt at life.
Absolutely.
If you can't, boom, you're on the same train. You're civilized.
And I wanted to speak to, while we're on the topic of masculinity and men stepping into their power versus female empowerment. So just as an aside to everybody's listening, this is not taking away from women's power. It's just different. So as a firefighter, I hear this all the time, girl power this or girl power that. And then it's great. But I personally don't believe in girl power, guy power. I believe in stepping into your power unapologetically. And so I just wanted to add to all of the comments that you just made about your program and how you're mentoring people, that this is not taking away from women in any way, period. But what I've noticed is the pendulum has swung so far from back in the 1950s when, yes, women had no rights and under the thumb and all of that kind of stuff. This is not taking away from that, but I believe that women can be powerful and strong unapologetically without emasculating men.
Absolutely. 110%. And I think the pendulum for men has swung the opposite way, in that now men are apologizing for the power and strength that they have disassociated from, right? I hear men say, like, oh, God, I'm so sorry to be a man right now. Like, I have never been happier to be a man right now. This is a beautiful time to be a man because the door is wide open for men to actually embrace a holistic view of masculinity. It's a terrible time to be a rapist, a sexual assaulter, and a piece of shit. So beautiful. Thank God it is. Thank God that the public's, it's now, if you do something that you shouldn't, it's going to be made public. Good. Let's get it all out in the open and then all get back to being healthy, responsible adults. What has been missing, I think, in the male empowerment or the male power factor that scares the shit out of, I'll speak for you, that scares the shit out of women because of what we've seen for the last, since the beginning of time, is that men haven't realized that with the gift of strength and the inherent gift of power comes the unbelievable amount of responsibility to balance it out. So some men have. You have great cops. You have great, strong humans. You have great, strong soldiers. You also have men that have abused their power because they haven't embraced the responsibility. But what I feel like we have now is, instead of men saying, awesome, I want to make myself as strong and as powerful as possible, all the while knowing I have to hold the equal amount of responsibility, which is what I'm promoting, is I will just refuse the power altogether so I don't have to have the responsibility. And so we've got men who have no purpose. They don't know what they're doing with their lives. We are a lost group at the moment. Our suicide rates have never been higher. Our addiction rates have never been higher. Our isolation rates have never been higher. And in the last 5 years, a lot of these numbers have gone up exponentially. So men have never felt more lost, more lacking for a path, lacking for a sense of direction. Why? Because you guys, women, don't need us to go hunt for you. You don't need us to stand at the doorway with a gun for you, protecting from the hordes. So because the pendulum has, thank God, swung to where everybody can take care of themselves, guys haven't realized what they need, or haven't found a way to use this inherent biological strength and power. They have to turn it inward. Say, oh, I can be adventurous on the inside. I can live a life that's so rich in my stomach and in my chest that I don't need to go out and bring you home food. I can become a hunter at holding space. I can become a ninja at that. Or we can get back to even doing some guy shit, right? Guys can commune with other guys. Guys can get out in nature, start surfing, start doing jujitsu, go punch shit. Don't punch people, but get back into that, what drives you as a man. All of my guys they have to lift weights. If they live here in New York, I box with them. Why? Because you got to do it. It's part of being a dude, right? And it's not, none of that then has the flip side that says, oh, by the way, because you just hit a bunch of pads and I taught you how to choke someone, now you get to be an asshole. Now you get to not express your emotions fully. No, you get to do both. And how beautiful is it to have an inherent strength, an inherent sense of strength and power, determination and leadership, and the ability to have emotion, the ability to have feelings, the ability to feel deeply into your body, deeply feel the person who's sitting across from you, whether they're a male or female, but especially if it's a woman, because then the experience of intimacy, the terrifying I word, actually goes through the roof. And it becomes a pleasure for both man and woman, as opposed to something that just scares the living fuck out of us. And we're just trying to sit through long enough until we can have sex and go back to watching football, and is a horrible conversation for both people.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's interesting to hear your take on all this and how you're able to sort of bring it full circle in terms of what it means to be man, the worth, because like you said, the climate has changed. And I remember watching an Oprah Winfrey episode. Yeah, that's right. We're going there. And she was talking to her friend Gail. And so obviously both these women, let's just stick with me for a second. I'm taking you somewhere.
I have faith.
Yeah. So both obviously very affluent women. And Oprah's friend Gail was single. And she said, you must not have problem finding male companionship. And she said, I have a terrible time finding male companionship because she's affluent and she's powerful. Yep. And she said the reason she does is because when she's in the company of a man, they know that she doesn't need their money, clearly.
Right.
And And they felt like because she was a powerful woman in her own right, and because she didn't need them financially, that they had no value to her. And she said, I just wish they knew that I need them. I need their love, their strength, their protection, their understanding, their empathy, their kindness, their support, their companionship, their company. I need all those things. I don't need your money. And I don't need to apologize for my power.
No, what she needs is their presence. That's what she needs. And that is, if you're not developing your own presence as a man, many men feel they have nothing to offer a woman who is financially viable or financially stable, educated, empowered, healthy, etc. Right? Where it's just a new paradigm. Right? So if we cultivate our presence and can bring that to a relationship, we then get to become, I was a CrossFit coach, so I say it as we become this whiteboard, a giant whiteboard that the feminine gets to on a daily basis, just splash with amazing color. Just throw her color all over us. Beautiful. And we get to walk around with, oh my God, look at all this color. And at the end of the day, that color slides off the board. But it's a place for the feminine energy to express itself. Right? Some days, there's a bucket of shit that gets thrown on the whiteboard. It happens. It happens to all of us. And guess what? At the end of the day, if you just sit there and hold that space, the shit slides right off. And then tomorrow's a brand new day. But I actually speak to a lot of women as well who say, I don't need a man. I don't need a man. I don't need a man. And then have them take a couple deep breaths and say, but what do you want? I want a man. I want a strong man. I want an empowered man. I want a guy who's as interested in me, more interested in me than he is in fantasy football, than he is in his phone, than he is in watching people fuck on the internet. I want presence. I know I've posted the 5 love languages, Shelli, and this is a conversation I've had over and over and over with both men and women, and every single woman I've ever asked, like, well, what's your love language? And it's, I have 3. And no matter what it is, no matter what, they always include quality time. Always. There's not a single female I've met who said, yeah, but I'm really stuck on quality time. I'm like, it's because you actually want a guy to sit there and be present with you. Period. I'm just going to hypothesize, that's part of what feminine energy wants and needs, is presence. As opposed to money, as opposed to a dead deer that we get to eat, as opposed to, but also they want, I won't speak for you guys. As a man, I want to be able to say and have my feminine partner know that if someone breaks into the house, they just made a huge fucking mistake, right? And I can protect you. If something bad happens in the world, if we're in a natural disaster, I got it. I'm strong as hell, inside and out, because I've done the work. Will that happen? I don't know. Who knows? I'm preparing for it anyway, because that is part of the path of masculinity. It's not to sit back as men and say, well, technology is taking over everything and I don't need to be good at anything. I don't have to have mastery. I don't have to have goals. I don't need to be strong because, you know what, I push a button and food comes. No, the path of our biology and our energy is still in there and needs to be expressed. And when men express it, all kinds of interesting shit happens in their lives.
Like what?
Changes. I ask all my guys, like, what are the unintended consequences of this course? I ask them that about 5 weeks in, 6 weeks in, when they come to me and say, I just want to lose 15 pounds, or I just want to do this. And I go, well, I have this program for men. What do you think about diving all the way into it? And all of a sudden they're getting promotions. All of a sudden their relationships are changing. They're arguing less and less with their partners, even if it's a gay partnership or heterosexual partnership. The masculine, feminine roles are redefined in their partnership, where the woman gets to be feminine, the man gets to be masculine. And this is in partnerships where that setup is how it exists, and they've both decided that. Guys have much more, all of a sudden, it's like, I've been sitting on this idea. I hear this a ton, Shelli. I've been sitting on this idea for 5 years, and I think I'm going to do it. It's either go back to grad school, it's start a business, it's have this side gig. It's, I get to express myself now that I'm healthy, strong, vibrant, present, and on purpose, and I have a relationship with my own power, I've actually gone, wow, I'm a pretty powerful dude. This IT job I've been in for the last 10 years hasn't really been my passion. You know, I've really wanted to play music. I'm going to pick the guitar up. And do they suddenly sell out Madison Square Garden? Maybe not yet, but they get to be who they've always wanted to be. And that, to me, as a human, is the most important aspect of my work. Because if you take an expression that's innate to you, it's in you, and it's not coming out, the act of stuffing it down has to lead, in my opinion, to either sickness or addiction. Mm-hmm. One of the two. You either got to keep putting shit on top of it and shove it down, or it's going to eat you alive down there. And I remember talking to a therapist about 6 months before my marriage ended. And I told him, I was like, yeah, I smoke pot every single day. This is weird, man. Like, I'm a health coach. I'm an athlete. I've never done this before. I've only started doing it in the last 5 years. And he was an addiction specialist and said, I don't think you're an addict. I think you're suffering from unexpressed expression. I was like, what? What the fuck are you talking about? He's like, you keep talking about wanting to write. You keep talking about wanting to write books and give seminars and give speeches and teach people in a different way that you are. I was like, yeah, whatever. So should I just try to go like 3 days without smoking, or like smoke on Monday, Wednesday, Fridays? Or like, how do I do this? I completely missed the boat of what he was saying, which I now fully believe. So where I look at guys, or I talk to guys and I say, what's your addiction? Like, well, I don't really have an addiction. I just jerk off to the internet like 8 times a week. Like, okay, well, we'll just maybe we won't call it an addiction, but we're going to focus on that area, because talking to guys about porn is a little bit scary. What would you be doing otherwise? What is this thing in you that needs to come out? God, I've always wanted to run marathons. I've always wanted to X, you know. I wish I could tell my partner this, but I can't. It's like, okay, there you have it. Whatever this expression is, this is how you're stuffing it down. And so you can change how you're stuffing it down. You can white knuckle how you're stuffing it down. It's like, okay, I'm going to go 30 days without jerking off on the internet. And then what do you know? Day 31, boom, you're back to it. Or drinking, or smoking, or having sex, or shopping, or whatever it is that you're using to keep it down. Or we can say, let's find an outlet for whatever it is that's healthy. Let's find an outlet for it that is actual expression. And lo and behold, the addictive property suddenly becomes really disinteresting, right? Like, I don't have a desire to get high. I don't have a desire to drink. It's actually fascinating that someone who drank for 35 years, or, you know, not 35 years, 25 years, to suddenly go, yeah, I can't even imagine my life with it. And I wasn't a big drinker. But it was, you know, it was part of the deal. It was part of social situations. It was, you know, I always had like a 6-pack in the house. But now I look at it and go, yeah, for whatever reason, the tie to it got cut.
Well, the interesting part is, like I said, you are one of the most gifted writers I've ever encountered. And
thank you.
You're welcome. When you stuff that kind of talent, because here's the thing I believe about you. People are going to be hearing your name far and wide. I know it, like I'm speaking to you right now. And when you, from an energetic level, when you stuff that gift to the world, not just your writing and your ability to write, but what you're writing about. Yeah. I can only imagine you would have to smoke a whole lot of pot to stuff down a gift that's as big as yours, my friend. Yeah, thank you. It makes sense in hindsight. You know, how prolifically I write now. How prolifically I speak now. And I think, God, I can't even imagine my life without that. And honestly, Shell, I remember the time when I was writing twice weekly for a magazine when I owned the gym. And the decision was made between me, my business partner, and a consultant that was taking too much time away from running the business. And truthfully, they were right. But I made the decision, okay, I'm not writing anymore. And I can look back at that time in my own history and go, oh, wow, that's when I really started drinking and smoking a lot. And you're right. It needed to come out. And if it couldn't come out, it needed something big and heavy to push it down. So I ask all my guys, like, what is this thing you want to give the world? And even if that's a terrifying thought, because trust me, being a public speaker and a public writer, it comes with some arrows. And so are you willing to, you know this from having a public voice,
right? Are you willing to accept that? Are you hiding behind that? Is it fear of success? Is it fear of failure? Or is it fear of just going, man, I get to step into some big shoes and my life is going to be radically different the moment I make this decision?
I love it.
You know?
Well, I think the people that follow you both online, who read your book, and who work with you personally with Man Uncivilized are in for a big treat, because you're one of the rare gems who, you know, they can see their own pain in your face, but they also see what it looks like on the other side. So last question.
Sure.
If you were to look a year, 2, 3, 5 in the future and have this movement that you're creating be exactly what you want it to be, what does that gift look like for us?
Oh, wow. It is an epidemic of healthy men. It is an epidemic shift. And I use that word. It's just a viral shift in the way millions and millions of men experience their masculinity. So it's healthy men. It's empowered men. It is then healthy partnerships with women, right? So until men respect themselves as the masculine, they cannot respect the feminine. But once they do, then they respect the feminine equally. So it is just a ripple worldwide, countrywide of men coming together communally, right? I bring my guys together. Men need men. We need to sit in a room with other men. We need to sit in a room with a bunch of other guys that look, smell, sound like us and say, hey, who's going through this shit too? Holy, what do you know? A bunch of hands just went up. That is the challenge right now. Isolation is killing men, left and right, killing them. We're either killing ourselves, we're killing you guys, or we're killing each other because of isolation and pain that's unexpressed. So that is my view. That's my grand vision, is just an empowered group of the most powerful humans I can possibly imagine. A group of uncivilized men who are out there doing shit, who are, you know, waking up in the morning excited. They're healthy. They're strong. They're empowered. They're inspired. You name it. They're leaders. They're fucking leaders, Shell. They're out there doing it. And they're bringing other men with them.
The biggest gift about that too is those kind of human beings are also really empathetic.
Yes, they have to be. They become the space holders.
Beautiful.
Right? They have to care.
If people are looking for you online and they want to work with you, they want to experience more Traver, because don't we all? Don't we
Thank
all?
you.
Where is the best place to reach you online, and how can they find a way to contact you and work with you and hear more about what you do?
Beautiful. So I'm putting together a page just for this interview. That's traverboehm.com/the yes effect. That I'll have links to our old talks, different ways to work with me, a special video just for listeners of this podcast. I'm all over Instagram at Traver Boehm. I do multiple times a day. We'll write like a little blog write up or just post stuff there. Those are the two main places. I know that people are on Facebook, but I'm not a big Facebooker. So It's either my website or Instagram. Yeah,
okay,
I'm
cool.
not too hard to find.
We're going to link all that up in the show notes as well. So
beautiful.
I honor you, brother. I love you to bits.
Thank you. I love you too. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you so much for sharing what you're up to.
All right. Take care, Shell.
Cheers.